some of their crew members, they came, "Are you Mr. Ahmed?" Yes. They held my two hands, two of them, and said, "Right now. We cannot wait for you any longer. Already we are delayed."
Farid Ahmed's words of forgiveness were heard around the world following a terror attack in Christchurch, New Zealand.
I want a heart that will be full of love and will forgive lavishly.
His words and stories offer both healing and hope for the future.
If our heart is full of love, then peace will start from here.
Episode 36, Flight to Safety.
When I was leaving, I expected my mom to cry most, but she was smiling. Amazing. My dad supposed to be tough, but he was crying. He broke down. My mom supposed to be softy. She did not cry at all. She was keep reminding me, "You go, then I can sleep. You go, then I'll be happy." So she was so happy that I was going somewhere safe. Poor mom, she didn't realize that thing will not last long. Because she was too much focused on my safety. But then when I left,
What about you?
she broke down.
What about you to be saying goodbye to your life?
I never like saying goodbye. I cannot explain how painful it is. I never like saying goodbye. I am a person I quickly get attached to emotionally, and then saying goodbye breaks my heart. So when I was leaving, I felt like, when we are in the mother's home, so we are fed with a nipple line.
Yes, umbilical cord.
Umbilical cord. Yeah. I felt like that was tearing. Yeah. I had vertigo. I had difficulties walking. I felt, when I was living, I felt like that the land under my feet was slipping away, and I was jolting. I was going to fall down, and the most probably painful thing was I could not tell everyone, because then I would be in danger. That was probably most painful.
So all your close friends, you couldn't?
No, I didn't want it to leak. Otherwise, they could stop me in the airport. I came to the airport, so basically, my living was with one word: trauma or traumatic. I came to the airport, and then I went to the counter. I will not give all the names for security reason. And I found that I had confirmed ticket, but counter was closed. I had confirmed ticket, I paid money, but there was no seat for me. So from Dhaka International Airport, I was going to come to Singapore Airport, and from Singapore Airport another connecting flight. So I could not come from Dhaka to Singapore. So how could I come to New Zealand? Everything was upside down. I was very worried that something is going on. Probably I do not know. Maybe there is a conspiracy. Maybe I'll be caught. It was mad. I remember I was crying, but at the same time I was going from here to there looking for if I knew anybody. I had never ever traveled outside my country before. So that was my first, going outside. I did not know everything. I was not very confident that what I was doing. So I went to Singapore Airlines counter and I said, I'm in trouble. If I cannot get to Singapore, how am I going to catch the flight over there? They said, can't do anything. I said, please. And then the gentleman from counter, he saw I was very distressed, and he said, explain to me. So I explained to him. We were speaking in English. My spoken English was not as good as now at that time, but luckily, I knew English and I could communicate. So I explained to him that if I cannot get to this part I cannot, because no seat for me. They did not take me, whereas this is the ticket, I paid for it. But I have no way of knowing now. But if I cannot get into any plane now, if I cannot go to Singapore, I'll be in trouble. So he said, you wait here. Let me deal with my customer and then I'll talk to you. So he finished his customer, and that was Singapore Airlines. Their aircraft, they were putting people in. So it was going to leave Dhaka airport very soon, and that was going to Singapore Airlines, going to Singapore. So when I said to him, he said, oh, do you have extra money? He said, yes. Can you pay me that many 1,000 taka? I said, yeah. Why? He said, one business class passenger didn't come. And you are very fortunate, mister. I can put you in right now if you can give me the extra money. I said, yeah. So he gave me the receipt, and then he said, quick. Now, got the ticket, and then I just went to the immigration and customs, Bangladesh, it's the immigration and custom, and they could do the hassle and bustle with me, okay, check-in and everything. But what happened, because that Singapore Airlines was getting late, some of their crew members, they came, are you Mr. Ahmed? Yes. They held my two hands, two of them, and said, right now. We cannot wait for you any longer. Already we are delayed. And I said, my passport. So they said to immigration, please, let him go. The official, they were also embarrassed. They could not, mistreat the airline. Okay. And they were, physically, they were pulling me. So I call it was a divine intervention. It was something, out of the blue, a kindness came to me to rescue me. They were physically pulling, that we have no time. And then, the third one was waiting. So these two said to the third one, you pick up his passport and ticket, and we are taking him. So they quickly took me to the bus, and then the bus took me to the aircraft, and I was in there, and they said, sorry for pulling you because we are already late, Mr. Ahmed. I said, no, that's good. So I sat on the business class and I said, Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yes. Yeah, so I was out, but yeah, but still I had anticipation, but that was a huge relief. That was a huge relief.